Sure.
I love you, Morty. You're adorable. Morty Seinfeld. That was Jerry's father.
That's right.
Oh, he's so cute. Hey everyone, and welcome to Chef AJ Live. I'm your host, Chef AJ, and this is where I introduce you to amazing people like you who are doing great things in the world that I think you should know about. As often happens with this show, one guest is referred by another guest, and Lisa Carlin, who was a wonderful guest on the show, recommended this next guest, who is amazing. She is a whole food plant-based family nurse practitioner who is practicing in the Bronx, and behind her she has an adorable dog named Morty, who hopefully you'll get to meet. Please welcome to the show, Eugenia Soliterman. It's so nice to meet you.
Thank you. So nice to meet you too, Chef AJ. Thank you for having me. Your show is amazing.
It looks so beautiful where you live, but I just love that there's a doggy in the background.
Yes. He loves the window because we have, the windows go all the way down to the ground. That's his favorite spot. Just look at what dogs are walking on the street. Wait until he gets to get down there.
Oh my God, he's adorable. So I'd love to know a little bit more about you. I know you're doing some amazing work in the Bronx that you're going to tell us about, but before you tell us about your work, just tell us a little bit about yourself. How did you find out about the plant-based diet? When did you start adopting it and why? And what's it been like since then?
Yeah, so I have been plant-based. This will be, I think it's just passing 7 years now. And so when I was I went straight from no nursing to post-grad. It's like a bachelor's and a master's. So it's like all together post-college, you become a nurse practitioner. So while I was in school to be a nurse practitioner, you always get the first step to treating any disease is lifestyle recommendations. And then we would gloss right over that and jump right to, medications and procedures and all of the other things that we do in Western medicine so well. But I was really frustrated because I was like, can we go a little deeper into what lifestyle recommendations mean? And also at the time I was really stressed because school was really jam-packed. We were doing clinicals at the same time. So I felt really just unwell myself in school. And I wanted to be like the perfect example for my patients. I really felt like I wanted to practice what I preached. I wish I remembered if there was one video that kind of led me to it or something, but it all kind of happened at once. I was trying different kinds of diets out, and I think it was like a keto-like diet. Tim Ferriss had this diet that was like, it's basically keto, and I felt so sick. I did it for, I think it was like 3 or 4 weeks, and it was a ton of meat, and then you had to like binge on a day, I was not doing that regularly. It's like, you should eat more calories. I don't know. I just felt very sick. I was eating the least amount of carbohydrates I've ever eaten. And I remember I went to the grocery store one day, and I'll always remember this because I love like bacon cheeseburgers. Like, I love that stuff. I mean, it's very addictive, very well. And I remember I didn't pick any animal products in my grocery cart that day. Everything looked so gross. I just was feeling so sick that I picked only plant-based things. And then I came home and I was like, what am I going to do with this? How am I going to eat all week? And somehow I made it through. I don't even remember what meals I made, but I wasn't hungry and I ate only those foods and I felt a lot better. And my parents, I was born in Soviet Union, Ukraine, Russia. And so my parents were like, no, you can't survive without meat. You can't do this. You need to make sure this is healthy. And so Forks Over Knives had come out. The China study was really easy to Google. And then the China study, I just dived into PubMed. There's so much research out there. And it just was like, the more I searched for it, unfortunately, whatever you're looking for on the internet, you'll find confirmation. But thankfully, this is true research confirmed. But I just felt more and more confirmed that this was the right thing to do. So, I was more vegan first, and I definitely ate more processed food for the first few years while I was figuring things out. But for the last 4 years, I've been oil-free. I'm not as good as you. I don't avoid every single processed food, but I would say I'm 80 to 90% whole food, plant-based, excellent at cooking. I want to go to, culinary school one day. If it exists, a whole food, plant-based, oil-free culinary school, because it's just so much fun, and I just love teaching people about it too. So yeah, that's where it came from, and I've incorporated it in practicing and teaching my patients that since I've graduated. So never practiced non-vegan.
That's amazing. How long is the nurse practitioner program, and do they teach anything that is anything like whole food plant-based there?
Oh, I mean, absolutely not. But this was, I've been practicing for 4.5 years. So 4.5 years ago when I graduated, and the program is great. I went to Columbia University, one of the best nurse practitioner programs in the country. I think it was number 2 when I went there. And they have, it's a little over 3-year program from start to end. And I remember they did require, all NP programs require one nutrition class, general one, before starting. So that was, that was good. That was the first class I ever took in nutrition. I remember I loved it. I think I had 99% in that class because I was so into everything. But in terms of anything about whole food, plant-based diets, absolutely not. We didn't really even go into even like the food pyramid. There wasn't much. It was just tell people to exercise, tell people to eat more healthy food, but it was never specific. Never something you could really, sink your teeth into, nothing practical that you could actually tell a patient.
Wow, it sounds amazing, the work you're doing. Do you want to tell us about it?
Sure, yeah. So I practice in the Bronx, and the Bronx is the least healthy county in all of the state of New York. We have 63 counties, and we're 63rd. I think there was a hashtag going around called Not 63rd. So it's a wonderful community, very diverse community, but they are all aligned, unfortunately, in poor health outcomes. A lot of poverty in this community. There's, different parts of the Bronx, but the large majority of it is like that. And my clinic operates in the most underserved region. We have, I think it's 6 now. I hope I'm not wrong, because it may be 6 or 7 federally qualified healthcare centers, which means like the government helps fund treatment for our patients. And there are a lot of mostly Medicaid and some Medicare. So yeah, the population is very sick. And so we have one registered dietitian, she's great, but one, and we serve sometimes as many as 7,000 primary care patients a day. And the general model for registered dietitians is one-on-one. So there's no way, and by the way, we have way more diabetes and hypertension than the general American population. Even though we know the general American population has a lot of it, we have the numbers like 10, 20 times more than the general population because of the socioeconomic situation that we have. So so it's a very high needs population. And every year I just try to think of what I can do to better serve the population, because you have 15-minute visits for follow-up, maybe 25 for a physical. And Dr. McMacken, do you know her program in Manhattan? So I credit I couldn't have done my program without her, because her program paved the way. So Dr. McMacken started in Bellevue. Is it Bellevue? It's a city, I think it's Bellevue, one of the city hospitals in New York. She started and it was very clearly whole food, plant-based. There's no secret that this is a plant-based nutrition program that Eric Adams, who's actually running for mayor of New York, helped push too, which is amazing. We might have a vegan mayor. That would be so cool. But she started this program that was an nutrition program teaching whole food, plant-based nutrition. And their goal was to reach 100 patients after 6 months. And they had a wait list. They were way surpassed their goal of 100 patients by 6 months. And so I went to my chief medical officer and I said, hey, you always tell me that people in the Bronx are not going to want to go vegan, that no one wants to hear the message that, you should eat this differently than what you're eating in order to survive, or in order to reverse your disease, live a healthy life. But listen, just across the bridges we have in Manhattan, people are coming from all the different boroughs, are waitlisting to get into this program. So let me give it a try. Let me speak to this director. Let me try. And I spoke to him about, I forgot her name, but her company is By Any Greens Necessary, about she's doing amazing work. She wanted 10,000 African-American women to go vegan. We have a really large African-American population too. So I was just telling him, it's been done, it's been proven that every population in any demographic, in any cultural background would be interested in a plant-based message if presented in a certain way. So yeah, he said, okay, but I have no funding for you, but if you can figure out how to do it, go ahead. And so a few months later, I got our first grant from Veg Fund that was supposed to be in-person cooking classes. 2 months later, COVID started. So we shifted to Zoom, and I have so many more details, but in general, it's been a year and a half of every single week. We do some kind of plant-based nutrition education, and it's grown from 1 to 5 people to last week I had 23, which is huge. This is a population with no computers. This is a population where some of these people have to teach one-on-one how to even access Zoom or download an app, depending on their age. But it's been really great. I've had really great involvement, and the outcomes have been really awesome too. We're working on actually tracking like very specific metrics, but people share at the beginning of the class things that they have had improve, like their blood pressure has improved, their cholesterol has improved, their doctor let them get off of their blood sugar medications, because these aren't all just my patients. They're patients from the whole network. I'm just one primary care provider. So yeah, it's been a really rewarding work, and it feels much better and much more rewarding than just prescribing medications and doing what I call Band-Aid medicine, which is just, kind of stopping the bleed, but not really reversing anything or really changing lives aside from extending their life, but in what level of quality. So yeah, that's as quick as I can do, but we can talk about more as well.
That sounds great. Do these people get any education in the culinary area? Because
yeah.
Tell us about that.
So we're a chef. So I feel like I am like a beginner chef because every other class is a cooking class. So I actually show the video from my kitchen, and I will cook them. I never use oil, entirely oil-free, whole food, plant-based recipes. So I try to incorporate ingredients that they have in bodegas and grocery stores. I have a lot of Dominican patients. I have a lot of Puerto Rican patients, a lot of African patients. So I will never cook them something that's super crazy they've never seen before. And I try to, I even have some guests sometimes, and she cooks some like more classically Dominican meals. I forget the names, but they use plantains, which I've never cooked with. I don't even know, like plantains are scary to me. Like even peeling a plantain, you have to use a knife, it's like harder than a regular banana. But I try to create meals that are more familiar to them and help them understand general concepts, but it's all about practicality. Because if you just tell someone eat more vegetables, that's not the same as, okay, here's a plate, you want, the 50-50 plate, or you want at least a cup of beans a day, or here's 5 ways to use spinach, or, so every other class is a cooking class. And I even have some people who are in their kitchen. This is on Zoom. So some people are in their kitchen cooking while I cook, because the ingredients I use are so easy and almost everyone has them in their kitchen that they'll actually just cook it along with me. So yeah, it's super fun, and the population is very lively and engaged, and it's so fun, and people share stories and interrupt me in a good way all the time. So it's a really fun, it's fun.
Right. You tell us about the thing you do on Fridays, because you sent me a link to that. That sounds really interesting. I signed up for it.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's what it is. So every Friday from 12 to 1, it's a different class every week. So last week I try to make it interesting, like the more interesting the titles. I also take like Zoom polls to figure out what people are interested in, which end up being everyone's interested in at least someone is interested in each topic. So I know I'm hitting my target audience topics right. But last week it was how to live to be 100 years old. So can you guess what research I used for that one?
The blue zones.
That's right. Only one person. I had actually 23 people I got recorded, but it was actually 45 people because I have people from a nursing home that come too. So of the 45 people, only one person heard of the blue zones. So I taught them about the blue zones. And so it was like a PowerPoint interactive. I had them guess some things and, like ideas of how to do the 9, I forget what he calls it, but like the 9 key similarities between all of them. We dived into the diet. And then the week before that, it was in the kitchen. So I taught them about the 50-50 plate and how to combine that and how to use that to your benefit, and how it's very simple, and how to like modify it slightly if you're not having success. So yeah, it's again, I go for practical. So I want them to leave with like 1 or 2 things that they can start next week, and then they can come again, and then they'll learn something else to do. So I've had a lot of success with that, especially since, I never have an hour with a patient, and I get an hour with 40 people at a time who get to hear me talk about plant-based nutrition for a whole hour. So it's pretty awesome.
What kind of successes have you seen in your patient population?
Yeah, so the most dramatic is the weight loss. So, and it's crazy to me because I do like health coaching as well, like private health coaching. And, sometimes it takes so long to just, because weight loss is slow. It's like half a pound and a half a week is natural. But I have patients who don't even, have never even spoken to me in person. They've only come to my classes and they've lost over 40 pounds over a couple of months just from coming to the classes, changing a little bit here, changing a little bit there. And it makes me so happy because their doctors didn't have time either. In fact, their doctors probably don't have education about it. I know most of them don't. And they're nurse practitioners, unfortunately. So yeah, the weight loss has been like the most exciting stuff. I also have done specifically for diabetics, so really poorly controlled diabetics. So A1Cs of like 11, 12. I had someone with 15. Teach them about, and it's not about like entirely reversing it, because a lot of these people, they don't have tons of time. This is, it's about little changes, but getting them down to under 10 A1C for the first time in ever that they've, been in the clinic for 5 years, the last 5 years, is a huge achievement. So that's been one of the biggest changes, I would say.
People are commenting how cute your puppy dog is and want to know,
Oh,
they want to introduce him, but I think he's resting now, and they want to know
yes.
what he eats. People always want to know what the guest eats in the day, but in this case, they want to know what Morty eats.
So I did actually, and I got to change his Instagram because I made it Meatless Morty. But he was vegan, and I used Vegepup, which is this powder that you add. Your dog is, you have a dog too, so I want to know the answer to the question for you too. But there's this like powder that has L-carnitine and taurine, and because dogs cannot survive being entirely vegan, there's certain proteins that they need from the vet articles that I've read and spoken to the vet. So I did start him off being vegan, and then one vet visit, it was like 4 months in, the vet kind of scared me. It was actually not my regular vet. It was one of the other vets because my vet was out, and Morty was like, I don't know, 2 pounds underweight of what he should have been. And I mean, like maybe 5% underweight. And she scared me. She said, we even have a vegan vet, and his dog isn't even entirely vegan. Like, he's mostly vegan. But when he was a puppy, they gave him meat just to make sure that he, hit the right growth curve. So I did start him on, he does eat chicken. I cannot make myself cook it or make it. I can't. I haven't cooked any meat in like 7 years. It like feels wrong to even buy it. But what I'm doing is, for the first year of his life, I'm gonna give him just chicken. So I cook all of his meals. So I just throw it in a slow cooker. It's so easy to do slow cooker meals. I looked up puppy recipes that are approved. I forget the name again now, but they have puppy approved ratios based on their age and, the protein and fat content. So I just make them in the slow cooker, and then I mix in like the least amount of chicken possible. And he, just eats the whole thing up very quickly. And he's right on the growth curve. He's not overweight. He's not underweight. He's like perfect. So when he hits a year, I am going to taper him off. And there are days when I don't. Like today, I made him tofu. He didn't know the difference. He ate the whole thing. Delicious. So it depends how you season it, just like with humans. So, but for now, I'm going to do until he's 1 year old. He's almost 6 months. And then I'll switch back to the powder, which smells awful, by the way. It's almost worse than the chicken. It smells like, I don't know, like dead things to me.
Oh my God, he's the class, is it free, the class that you teach on Fridays from 12 to 1 Eastern time?
Yes, it is free. It's supposed to be more for the patients, but anyone can come. Absolutely, it's totally free. It's on Zoom, and one of the things that the grants funded, one of the most important things, is a text campaign. So I have this text service that reminds patients. Tuesdays they tell them what the class topic is, and then Friday mornings they tell them, remember you registered for this. Here's the link, and then 5 minutes before the class they remind them again, and that's been really helpful in reminding patients. And then also for anyone, we forget our meetings all the time. I know my Outlook saves me a lot. 10 minutes, you have a meeting. So same kind of system. So yes, anyone can use the link that's going to be under this YouTube video, and they can sign up easily. You just put your name and cell phone number so I can send you the text. And yeah, and you can unsubscribe at any time, obviously. But if you want to see, for your organization, kind of like what it looks like, how, what kind of format it is, it's something that is just so easy to replicate in my mind, because I've spoken to so many people who've interviewed me on podcasts and YouTube things and Instagram videos, and everyone's so impressed. And I'm like, this isn't that hard. You could do it. Anyone could do it, So I feel like there's just that little jump of, from nobody doing it to, or not doing a single one to doing a couple. It's just, you just run with it. Like, I'm sure when you started doing your interviews, it was stressful. And then once you've done a few, you're like, oh, whatever, this is fun. This is great. I'm a natural at it.
Yeah. What's the biggest resistance in your patient population to eating plant-based or even being more plant-based? Is it the cost? Is it the taste? Is it the food addiction? Is it the availability?
So it's hard to say, because I address all of those things before a lot of those things before I even bring it up, I would say. So I don't think cost is an issue, because we have affordable produce. It's not necessarily all the options in the world. They don't have like Whole Foods and Trader Joe's in the Bronx. And then we actually just started a CSA, a farm share program. The first week is next week, and they're going to get like a ton of fruits and veggies for only $10 a week. So I'm even like trying to give you more access to that. I would say probably culturally, other family members would be the hardest thing. So it seems like in the last, since COVID, people have been so much more hyper aware of nutrition than ever before. Not that people didn't care about nutrition before, but now, I don't know. I think it's just the vegan movement has become so huge. So many celebrities are so outwardly vegan. Maybe people were vegan for a while, but now everyone is speaking about it and combining it with the climate, of course. So now it's not crazy for their doctor or nurse practitioner to say, you should eat less meat. But then they go to their mom's house and their mom's like, everything has some meat in it, or I'm going to put cheese on everything, or I don't know how to cook without oil, or there's going to be butter on things, or, their grandma's recipe that they don't want to be rude and not have. Or their husband won't not eat meat. And their kids are obsessed with only meat products. So they have to cook something for themselves. They have to be a short order cook, which is the worst possible scenario and not sustainable. So I think the people that are coming to the classes are ready and they want to learn and they're taking little steps. But I would say the people they're surrounded by are not always the most helpful, but still, I've turned so many families plant-based, because the mothers are amazing and they are strong and they are heading up the kitchens mostly, and they slowly bring in those plant-based dishes. This one mom, she cracks me up. She's like, she serves her husband and her kids tofu scramble, and they didn't know that it was tofu. They really just thought it was eggs, and now they're obsessed with it and they like it more than regular. And she doesn't even cook it without oil. She's one of the ones who cooks while I'm teaching, so she can actually try things out and ask questions like, why doesn't mine look like yours? So it's awesome. They find creative ways, and there are ways to overcome it, but I would say that would be the answer to your question. That's the hardest challenge, because we know it's not more expensive to eat plant-based most of the time. And I forgot the other ones you said, but I think the culture one is the biggest, people surrounding them.
That's funny that they not only liked it better, but that they didn't even know it wasn't eggs. That tells you something right there.
Yeah, exactly.
In case people don't know, Eugenia, what is a nurse practitioner? Like, how is it different than a registered nurse or a physician's assistant? So what does that entail?
Thank you for asking that, because I am in my own world and bubble, and I have what a nurse practitioner is. So yes, thank you for asking that. So a nurse practitioner is a master's level nurse. So if you get a bachelor's in nursing, you are eligible to become a registered nurse. And then when you get a master's, you're eligible to sit for the boards to be a nurse practitioner. Now, a nurse practitioner, the most similar profession that I can compare it to is a physician's assistant. However, and we function very similar. Like in the hospital, you'll see a lot, NPs and PAs doing almost exactly the same thing. The main difference is nursing model versus physician model, and I can go on that forever. But another thing is nurse practitioners have a different amount of authority based on state. So there are highly restricted states like California, sadly, and less restrictive states like New York, yay, where I am. So the less restrictive state, for example, in New York, if after you've practiced as a nurse practitioner for 2 years, you no longer have to, you can basically have your own practice. You don't have to be tied to a physician. In primary care, for example, different specialties like in hospital acute, it's a little different, but for example, for primary care, a family practice, nurse practitioner, I can technically have my own practice, and I don't have to have any kind of legal relationship with a physician. In California, for example, it's a little different. So to me, it would be a little bit of a culture shock in that I do have to have certain things signed off by a physician, and I have to have like a legal relationship with a physician. But in terms of day-to-day practice, it's hard to really tell the difference, because we do, we treat the whole patient. We are their primary care provider. We have, like I mentioned, school is 3 years, right? And a doctor is much more than that. It's like, 4 + 4 + however many more years you need for your specialty. So physicians have much more a wide range of experience and also more specific. So I would say we can handle, it depends on what practice you have. So it's more about kind of on the job. I mean, we have clinicals, but it's more about what you're comfortable with based on your experience. But I would say physician graduates being able to handle like the most complicated cases, while nurse practitioners probably, it depends on the person, but you might be able to handle like 60 to 70% what a physician would handle, but it depends. So I know plenty of nurse practitioners who are smarter than physicians I know and know more just from their experience. But in my practice, I definitely consult with my medical director, who's an amazing family medicine doctor, I don't know, once a week on a complicated case, because my patients are very complicated. We have HIV, Hep C, opioid dependence, along with all the chronic conditions. But generally, I am their primary care provider. So they don't see anyone else but me. I might consult with someone, it's a team. Medicine is team-based. But as a nurse practitioner, I am their primary care provider.
And you can even write prescriptions, right?
Of course, yes. Anything that if your general physician, your family medicine doctor would do, I do. So you can order tests, prescribe meds, refer you to specialists, consult with specialists, all of those things. Absolutely.
That's cool. Thank you for explaining, because I always wanted to know the difference. Did you want to share some slides? Because I enabled it in case you wanted to.
Sure. Yeah. Let's see. I can kind of skip over some too. I don't know if every single one needs to be shared. Share screen.
Because you can write prescriptions, so like friends kind of like ask you for drugs.
Yeah, so when we were in school, they did actually address that, and they talked about the slippery slope and how it can be, that's the most common way to get into legal trouble. So yes, I do avoid that.
Good.
But what helps is, since I am from California, all of my family is in California, and I can only prescribe in New York until I apply to be expanded. So most of my contacts in New York stem from schools, so they're all clinicians anyway. So I don't really need to write them prescriptions. But we'll see when things change if I ever move back to California. But it's just better to not treat your family, or at least see them. You don't want to do that phone call. Oh, you think you have strep? Oh, I'll send you antibiotics. I would never do that. Okay, do you see my screen right there?
Yes, you have quite a few letters after your name.
Yeah, so I also have a master's in public health. I actually did that first because when I was in college and undergrad, and I knew I was going to go into something medicine, I didn't know if I wanted to be a PA or an MD, and I actually learned about nurse practitioners from my MPH school. But the doctors that I work with all said, you are very like big picture, you like population health and community health, you should get a master's in public health, and you should get it first because you're such a hands-on person that once you graduate with your whatever kind of clinician you become, we know you're not going to go back to school very soon because you're just going to want to go and like get your hands dirty. So get an MPH first and then go to school. So I got my MPH first, and that was part of why I chose Columbia too, because they have an MPH program there. So they do like think of things in a very preventative, holistic way. And so that actually was part of why I chose Columbia too, because they do have like a public health stance on their program too. So this is just a little bit more about ACA Network, which is where I practice in the Bronx. They are the largest Hispanic-led nonprofit in the state. I'm not Hispanic, but many of our staff are. We have more than just primary care, by the way, and that's why I had, like I mentioned, I had the nursing home, one of their senior center patients come to the classes too, and they're so fun and they ask the best questions. So so what the potential to reach, I a potential to reach 150,000 individuals through these classes on Zoom. So right now I probably have at least about 2,000 by now, at least offered, but I'll show you the numbers later, but there's a huge potential for this. And virtual, if it wasn't for COVID, we wouldn't have, 62 out of, I think it was 63. Okay, well, 62 or 63. But if it wasn't for COVID, virtual wouldn't have been the norm. I don't think anyone would have let me do virtual classes, and we could have never reached the potential we reach now. So let's see. I did mention very low income population. I just wanted to share some stats. So in 2020, we saw fewer primary care patients than usual because of COVID. And so we saw 5,417 patients. So 86% of our patients were 100% below the poverty line. And basically the rest were between 100 and 200% below the poverty line. So very impoverished population. Also 25% of our population was homeless. We have a largely Hispanic, Latinx population, about 24% Black African American, and 4% white and 16% unknown. So very diverse in that as well. So, and then a ton of patients to target. So I target the patients with, the highest need. So the patients with diabetes, hypertension, obesity, morbid obesity. So I will send out text invites specifically to the patients who have these diagnoses already. Of course, anyone is welcome to come, but I specifically target these patients because they have the most to gain, right? Of course, it benefits anyone. And if I see someone for primary care, of course, I will tell them about the program. But I specifically target these people who are already, suffering from these things. So we have, as you can see, tons and tons of patients to target. And I mentioned we only have one registered dietitian. So you asked about challenges with patients. I could tell you challenges before even starting. Leadership was really doubting that people would want to be interested. People in the Bronx wanted to hear about plant-based diets. So this was, I had to use Dr. McMackin's program as an example. Like I said, if I didn't have that program as an example, I don't think this would have happened. We also have a really difficult to reach population. Kind of mentioned offhand, but very few people have computers. Very few people they have like Instagram and phones. Most of them have cell phones, but they're not, if you tell them to sign up for something on the internet, you're likely no one's going to sign up for it. So switching to Zoom, it was like, okay, I need to get people to use their phones to join me. Do they have Wi-Fi? Can they even connect? And even for appointments, we have sometimes a 30 to 50% no-show rate for an appointment, for a medical appointment. So so we had a lot of hurdles, but we had advantages too. So myself, I'm super excited and passionate about this. I like to think my passion is contagious. My patients tell me all the time they leave so excited and happy after seeing me, happy and excited about eating more plant-based. So I do have that going for me. I think you really need to be excited about what you're talking about. And I know my stuff. I've been learning about preventative nutrition and plant-based diets from people like Dr. McMackin, Dr. Rosfeld, those are just my local people. But I've been, studying plant-based diets myself for so long. And I'm actually on track to become board certified in lifestyle medicine by the American Academy of Lifestyle Medicine this year too. So it could be like very official. I know what I'm talking about with plant-based diets. And also I'm a health coach on the side. So I know the background of health coaching. Again, not something, unfortunately, we learn in nursing school or medical school. So I have a lot of skills that help me do this program. So I mentioned, we'll skip over that. I guess I can say how we addressed it, because if someone else wants to do it. Applying for grants, the first grant that I got, and again, the grant that started it all was through Veg Fund, highly recommend. They're not like a clinical grant organization, but they fund anything that promotes the vegan. They'll even fund, I saw one time they funded someone $100 to ask a Whole Foods in their neighborhood to make a vegan cake to show that people will buy vegan cakes. And so they did that, this one person, and the ending was that the Whole Foods now stocked vegan cakes because there was enough interest from that little mini project of making a vegan cake. So it's a really amazing organization, and any little project makes a huge difference. And they helped with launch our first this program. So, and let's see. I strongly recommend asking the patients what they want. I learned that from my master's in public health. Anytime you have any problem in the community, first thing you do is you go to them and you say, how can I help? What do you need? And all of them always said, I need to learn more about nutrition. I don't know what to help, I don't know what to eat. What is healthy? I hear something different every day from the New York Times. What should I be eating? So, and then they asked me, what do I cook? Give me a recipe. Or what do I buy? What do I not buy? What do I cook my kids? My kids won't eat, are picky. What's healthy? So I listen to what they want. They want to lose weight. Okay. A lot of my classes have the word weight loss in it. Fortunately, if you're eating whole food plant-based, you will lose weight. Most of them are, significantly overweight that attend my classes. They're morbidly obese. So even, a diet with nuts and seeds and nuts, they'll still get close to, they'll still get pretty far before they start, tweaking further. So, so that's just, ask them what they want and give them what they want with evidence-based nutrition. So I always put this in, but I don't need to tell you why we do whole food plant-based diets. I actually did this presentation, a version of this presentation for the National Council for the Homelessness for addressing diabetes in homeless populations, because we have 25% homeless population in 2020. And so I showed them the study between the American Diabetics Association diet and a vegan diet in a study, because people will ask, why don't you just teach the diabetics, what the American Diabetes Association recommends? And the vegan diet outwon in every level. More medications reduced, more A1C lower. The ADA didn't even lower their A1C, and more pounds lost. So I like, I kind of sneak in research in any setting, but Chef AJ, you probably heard about research more than any person on this planet. So, and then plant-based, progress, not perfection. Again, my goal is never to make the entire planet vegan. It's about, going on the spectrum closer to being more plant-based, better for their health, better for the environment, just better on all levels. So even, a meatless Monday is fantastic. So never ever do, and that was so clear. That was one of the biggest messages that I gave to the leadership of my company, is that I will not be shaming anyone for eating meat, or animal products. It's about moving in that spectrum and in that direction. And although I never in a cooking class will ever touch an animal product, the message is incorporate some of these dishes along with the dishes that you already love, and you can tweak them to look more similar to what is on your plate, but know that if you want like the most ideal combo, here is the example, and you tweak it to what you feel comfortable with. And then like I mentioned, COVID, we went virtual, and it was a bummer that we couldn't do food tasting. That was a big element of how I wanted to hook people, is I was giving them little samples every single class. Even if it wasn't a cooking class, they would get a little sample of something like a tofu scramble or some kind of oatmeal with no artificial sweetener or real sweetener that was still sweet because of bananas and raisins. And, like little things like I made a chili with no meat in it. People are like, oh, this is really good and flavorful. I was like, well, I didn't even have to add salt or any animal products or oil. It's still delicious. So yeah, here are some of the class topics we've had over the last year and a half. There's been a lot more since then, but some of the most popular ones, 21 small tweaks to help you lose weight. Do you recognize that title?
That's great.
Dr. Greger, this is Dr.
That's
Greger,
right.
100%. Yep. So I give him credit, of course, right at the beginning. But if someone doesn't want to read his gigantic book, then they can just get the message. So we talked about that one. I've done live grocery tours. So I go to a grocery store in the neighborhood that the patients go to, and I'll show them like how I shop at the grocery store and which sections have the best bang for the buck and which ones are whole food. We talked about cravings, how to stop eating junk food at night. We do nutrition labels. Of course, anyone would think of that one. The American College for the Lifestyle Medicine has this really cool meal plan where it's a whole day of meals for under $7, and they have a whole week's meal plan. So I cooked a whole day of meals within a 1 hour class to show people, listen, it's super affordable. You can buy these things anywhere year round. I do have, unfortunately, a lot of kids who are pre-diabetic and diabetic and have a BMI of over 99 percentile. So about every 8 weeks, I'll do an entirely nutrition for kids class. So I tweak kind of what the topic is, but it will be something for kids. Sometimes it's a picky eaters class. Sometimes it's like just straight why your kids should eat plant-based. Sometimes it's for, from every single period in their life, what kind of fat, protein content they need and how they can get it from plant-based sources, or if they are still drinking dairy milk, if they're not breastfeeding, of course, how you can support them in that way. So so quite a lot. And again, these are all, if someone asks me for something, I will do that class. So a lot of these are someone asked me in the class or in person during a medical visit, can you teach me how to lose weight? Can you tell me what I can substitute for butter? Substitute for unhealthy foods as a class. Can you do something for diabetes? Can you do something that's cheap? Can you teach me what to eat for lunch? Can you teach me what to buy and how to stock my pantry? And I'll just do that class. And that's been a way to listen to the patients. So yeah, we've had over 100. I like to track it in families because when I first started it, I wanted to reach 100 families. That was my goal. So we reached over 150 families in the first year and a half. And by the way, we had to take a 6-month pause too. So it's been really about 12, 14 months of the program. The 6-month pause was during COVID. They had me help we have a nursing home. And so they had me help in the nursing home as a nurse practitioner during COVID. So really only 12 months, so we've done quite well. And then, so over 150 families, really 500 different people, more than 500. And almost every person, now it's like 99% have diabetes, morbid obesity, or both. So, and like I mentioned, I try to focus on the patients who need it the most. And then, anyone could come, but I really want to reach those people who are desperately in need, triage them, so to say, with the most in need. And, I didn't do this entirely by myself. I partnered with the community as much as possible. New York has a lot of great programs. So I have Bronx Works is one organization that provides nutrition education. And one of now a good friend of mine there, Jairi Apadro, she comes every couple of weeks, every 2 months, we've decided to come and she'll cook more culturally appropriate food, and it's just a different personality. It helps switch things up. It's not always me. We are starting a CSA, community sponsored agriculture, farm share, whatever, fruit and short, and it's starting next week. And the amazing thing is it takes SNAP, and it takes like their government funds for food, basically. So they have these cards and they can swipe them. So they don't even have to pay their cash. It's like the monthly budget that they get for food, and for food they can use that. And so starting next week, and I'm really excited because They said I needed to get 23 people to do it, just by crates of how many vegetables come per crate. And they were like, don't worry, most clinics really struggle in the beginning, and you probably won't get enough people. And I was like, no, I need to get enough people because this is really important, and people need to know what a good, how cost effective it is. It's about $30 worth of fruits and veggies for $10, and it's freshly picked, it's local, it's like everything you possibly want. In California, you guys get this all the time. New York, we only get a few months of this, like the best quality stuff. So So yeah, it was amazing. I'm really proud. So next week we start that. We'll do that all summer. Yeah. So, and we partner with a local grocery store. They used to get like 1 or 2 pieces of tofu a week. Now they stock many, like 20 or 30 a week, because all of my patients go to the grocery store and they ask for tofu. Oil-free vegetable broth. They used to have only canned. They're getting cartons because I told them it's easier to just buy in bulk so that it's resealable. So things are changing because the patients are asking for it. We already talked about this, focusing on patients' needs, doing what people ask them to. I had one person say, some of my patients, they don't even have a kitchen, they only have a microwave. So I did a class of only microwave recipes. Some people don't have refrigerators, so it's got to be the whole day's food. If you're going to cook it, it has to be used by the end of the day or be totally shelf stable. We have the class day and time is consistent every Friday, 12 to 1. I send them those text invites that I told you guys about, and then we share stories. So sometimes if no one has a story, I might go on like Forks Over Knives or something and share a story from a real person on there, and Chef AJ, I probably could share your story, but the people like to hear. People are way more influenced by one individual person than statistics. That's just human nature. So I share as few statistics as possible and as many individual stories as possible. The group format is really great. Again, time efficient. I reach more people, and people get to feed off each other's energy. I think group is better. It's like, if one person has a question, someone else probably has that question. And so many times someone will say, oh yeah, I'm struggling from joint pain too. And I've had rheumatoid arthritis since I was 30. And then 6 more people will be like, me too. Oh my God, it's horrible. It's raining today, so I feel it. And me too, and me too, and me too. And then I get to bring them all together and say, well, there are some anti-inflammatory foods that can help all of you, Yeah, so, and I want to keep growing. My goal is 50 people a class. I feel like that's like a good number where I can still stay engaged with everyone and still be reaching a lot of people. And I've been expanding to other parts of the organization too. So I won't even go into that because there's so much stuff, but we can get out of this. But I just wanted to share a little bit more details because it's just my favorite thing I've ever done in my career, and it's so fun and rewarding. And yeah, it's just one of my favorite things to do every Friday. I get to teach about nutrition, the most useful thing you can teach a patient, I think.
That is great. People are saying you're doing such great work. You're so full of passion and energy. And people are asking, because you live in Manhattan, do you know Victoria Moran?
No. Should I know this person?
Well, she's awesome. She's a Main Street vegan. She's 71 and she has beautiful skin, and she's written a lot of books, and she has an academy there. Maybe you when she goes back to teaching in person, you might even, maybe hook up with her. She's been on the show before. We dedicated a whole week to her academy. I think maybe you've seen her on the street, but don't even know it.
Oh my gosh, what's her academy?
It's called Main Street Vegan Academy.
Main Street Vegan. Okay, I will look that up.
Yeah, because she's definitely in Manhattan. People are asking, like, how can they start a program like this if they're in another community, like somebody's in Brooklyn, for example? Can they do what you're doing there?
Yes, that's what anyone could do. If you know about plant-based diets, just a little bit, there are so many great resources out there. You could just pull Forks Over Knives material. Kaiser even has material for free on the internet, just so many places, and you could just listen to your audience and build it. So I put my work email out, and I think it's going to be underneath this YouTube video, but feel free to email me. That's actually my next thing that I'm doing. I haven't fully launched, completed one yet, so I don't want to share any names, but one of my ways to expand to reach more people is I want to help other organizations start the same thing. So if you would like to start the same kind of program, again, it's just me running it. So really you just need one dedicated person, and with a text message service, you don't even need like an assistant of any kind. Sure, you could do it with 2 people if you wanted, if you don't want to do this, every single week, but it's totally customizable and the benefits are humongous. And I can promise you that you don't have enough nutrition education on your programs. I mean, I know organizations and medical associations that don't even have a registered dietitian on staff. So, there's no way they're having time to teach their patients. I know as a primary care provider, I don't. So yeah, you can feel free to email me. We can hop on a Zoom call or a regular call and I can see what I can help you with, because it is completely reproducible. I am not some magical person. Anyone can do this. Absolutely.
Well, may not be magical, but many people on the chat are saying you're very motivating. And Michelle says, can you please share your grant program? I don't, was that a slide that you shared that she's referring to?
So the first grant, so I've actually won a couple grants now. So if you're passionate enough, people will give you funds. So Veg Fund, VEGFUND.org, go there. I think that's a great organization. And in a couple of years, I'm going to start donating to them because they're amazing. They're my first, I would say, place I would donate. I guess I do donate small amounts, but my first big massive donation will be to them. But they are really great for small grants. And really, this program is so low cost. You can, now that I don't even share the food that I cook. When I do a cooking class, my fiance and I, we have dinner, and we have lunch. So it's very low cost. The only cost really is the texting service, but some organizations even have a texting service already connected to their EMR. And for those clinicians out there, all those visits are billable. So, if you can identify who is on the Zoom call, it is a group visit with a clinician, or if you're doing a registered dietitian. So it is a group visit. It is a billable visit. Absolutely. I don't think I would have been able to do it if it wasn't a billable visit. So yeah, so vegfund.org is great. I don't know if you can see, is there a chat? I don't know.
Well, there's a chat that I'm monitoring, but it's on
Veg
YouTube.
Fund. There you go, Veg Fund. So feel free to go on there and apply. And yeah, so that would be the first place I would say to go to for fun.
Well, thank you. You mentioned what you cook for Morty, but what do you eat for the day?
Oh, whole food plant-based. So let's see, what am I eating lately? I've been really into a chickpea and avocado mash in the morning. So I just, and it makes 3 toasts. So 1 goes to my fiance. So I'll mash up a chickpea, 1 whole can of chickpeas plus a small, they're smaller than California avocados. They're these like little avocados. And then I throw in some flaxseed, ground flaxseed. And then I either do like a mixer or I just mash it with my fork. And then I'll spread that on a piece of toast, on 3 pieces of toast. 1 goes to my fiance, or oatmeal. And then for lunch, I either will do a chili. So I have my like super easy, Dr. McDougall's actually is the one I've been using recently because they've been in Trader Joe's. They're just this box, do you know what I'm talking about? This like cardboard box. And so it's already pre-made. All I have to do is pour it into a bowl, put it in the microwave, delicious chili. Or I'll make a salad. So I try to have as many different colors as possible with the Bragg's apple cider vinaigrette is an oil-free vinaigrette. So I'll use that one, or just balsamic vinegar. I'm obsessed with balsamic vinegar. And then for dinner, I usually eat like the heavier meal at dinner. So I love potatoes, maybe some potatoes and some kind of veggies, or like an Asian veggies, have tofu every now and again. Tempeh, really good at tempeh bacon, really know how to spice it up to be as bacon-like as possible. Again, totally oil-free. Yesterday, I switch up what I eat so often. I have so many cookbooks now that I have the How Not to Die cookbook I just got. So actually every one of my patients who is doing this, the farm share, I actually got a grant to buy 100 copies. So everyone that has subscribed for the first month of the fruit and veggie box, they actually get that cookbook for free. It's, award winning, a bestseller. It's over 100 whole food plant-based recipes. They don't even have salt, which is awesome. I don't know how accessible miso paste will be for people, but still every other ingredient is really easy to access. So yeah, yesterday I made a chickpea like noodle soup, not really noodle. So I used like chickpeas, potatoes, and carrots, and blended half of it. Whatever. I make new stuff all the time. Especially I do a cooking class. So I just look up from one of those recipes and I make a whole food plant-based thing. And then maybe like once a week we'll have like a more processed dinner. Like yesterday I went out to Thai, so I had like a red curry.
Nice. What about exercise? Are you a fan?
Exercise is very, very important. I tell my patients all the time that walking is just, people underrate walking too much. People think they have to go and like just kill themselves. And even Blue Zone says, what do these populations do? Are they pumping iron? Are they running marathons? No, they're finding small ways of daily, just habits of daily movement. So I always tell people, we're in the city, so it's pretty easy to walk more. So don't take the cab. If, get off a subway stop or two earlier, or just don't take the subway at all. We have City Bike, which is amazing. Good bike anywhere in the city almost now with City Bike. It's even gone up to the Bronx. It's those rentable bikes, in case you don't know. I think they have them in California. But so yeah, I will do like 30 minutes 3 times a week of a more like weight workout, but primarily I walk a ton. So even before Morty, one of my favorite things ever, New York City, one of the benefits of the city is it's so walkable. You could literally walk from here, from like Upper West Side to Williamsburg, and it would be so interesting. You could pick up like coffee on the way, or just like carry on water, and it would be super engaging and interesting. So I'm all about walking, and then I just do the like weight, more like push-ups and things, just to keep tone the muscle 3 times a week. But otherwise it's just walking.
Yeah, nice.
And hiking when I can. Tomorrow, Monday, we have it off, so I'm going hiking.
Where do you hike in New York?
So if you there's a couple areas. So there are mountains around here. You just have to get to them. So I haven't had a car in like 8 years. So we take the public transportation. So there's this thing called the Metro North, and when you hop up, within 40 minutes from Grand Central Terminal, which is a beautiful terminal, and you're always like, oh, New York, so beautiful, and then you remember how dirty the city is. But you can get to a hiking trail in like 40 minutes to an hour and a half, depending on where you go. So one of our favorites, it's I'm really intense when I get to hikes. I always just want like the highest, longest one possible. So there's one that goes from like one cute town to another cute town. It ends in this cute town called Beacon, and it's like you go over several hills. It's like a 3-hour hike. For us, 4 hours if you go on all trails. Look it up. But yeah, so that's one of our favorite hikes, and we're gonna take Morty on it on Monday, and we try to get out at least like once every month in the summer, and every 2 months in the winter. We got over hiking in the snow. We're like, we need to be out there, so we even figured out trails that aren't like scary icy, and so we even hike in the snow and just make it work, because I just need the nature. So
nice. I'm 4 minutes from the closest hiking trail.
You're very lucky, and that is my dream. And within the next couple of years, I will get somewhere that I am within 10 minutes. I'll give myself 10 minutes of a hiking trail.
Are you very high up? What floor are you on? They're saying you look like you're very high up in your apartment.
Yeah, 7th floor. This building has like 30 floors, but yeah, I'm on the 7th floor. So, and the windows are the first quiet apartment I've ever been in New York. So,
didn't you say you've been vegan for 7 years?
Yep.
1 floor for every year.
Oh my gosh, that's true.
I guess next year you'll have to move 1 floor up.
That's
Is your fiance vegan as well?
Yeah, so I got really lucky with this one. He within a month of dating, because he's very nutrition focused. Also, he used to do he's still an intense athlete. He actually is in a semi-pro biking team, like bicycle team. But he, within a month of meeting me, and he just asked, I never make anyone go vegan or plant-based. So he just asked all the questions, because obviously every meal we ate, I would eat plant-based. And he was like, okay, well, you're a clinician, you know what you're talking about. let's see. And I mean, he always says, like, if I wasn't dating you, it would probably be really hard, but I love cooking. I love, setting up meals for him. And so he's been plant-based since we, met after the first month. And now my parents are plant-based. His parents are plant-based. I am so spoiled. I know so many people who have, in-laws who are not, and they have to deal with what to do when they visit and all of that. And I'm just very, very lucky. We are aligned on almost everything. We're not exactly the same person. That's why I say not almost everything. But yeah, he's definitely plant-based. And our little Morty will hopefully do well on a plant-based diet at 1 year old too. But we are as meatless and plant-based as possible.
That's amazing. Any of your family members go plant-based?
Yeah, my parents, they took way too long. I've been taught, they were the ones that was before I learned that you shouldn't approach people that hard with plant-based diets. I was like, come on, guys, you have history of all these cancers in your family. All the grandparents have diabetes and hypertension. I'm like, listen, you were never a healthy weight when you were my age. Don't you see how well I'm doing? And they were just kind of like, let's observe how things happen with you. And I just kept feeling great and amazing and being healthy and my labs being amazing. I always joke I want to frame my labs in my office because no one has as low cholesterol as I do. It's like my HDL is like over 100 and everything else is crazy low. And I just want to be like, listen, it's something that can happen. But I'm telling you, vegan diets became so much more mainstream. Even my parents, like Eastern European Russians, grew up on like sausages, salami, this like special like different pork products. They have friends who went plant-based, and so they were like, oh, okay, so tell us more about that. And yeah, now my dad, the total, like, he's like this big like macho man. He's like, I could never eat steak. He's like, it makes me nauseous to look at steak. So I'm like, thank God. It's never too late. You could be 80 years old and you can start eating more plant-based, and that will still extend your lifespan and it'll still reverse some of the artery clogging. And it's never too late. You can always feel better. So,
well, I always tell my Russian friends that you can go plant-based because vodka's vegan.
Potato vodka.
Absolutely. Susanna says, do you know Eric Adams?
Yes, so he is the running for mayor, and I actually did meet him. Rachel Atchison is a friend. She's awesome, and I've hung out with her more than Eric Adams himself. But yes, he is. We have a potential for a vegan plant-based mayor, and like I mentioned, he actually helped that Bellevue plant-based program go through because it was at a city hospital, and so it was at a city level. They had to approve this program, and he was instrumental in helping push that through. So yes, I would love for the mayor for him to be vegan. For our mayor to be vegan because he will obviously push more measures like, no processed. I think this is already pushed through, but we don't have processed meats in schools anymore, and more and more meatless options in school, and maybe not dairy with every single kid's lunch. So there's a lot of political systemic changes that can be made if we have someone who understands about nutrition in political leadership positions. Yes.
Do you know Amy Hamlin that's doing the work with the schools?
No. Is that who did the unprocessed, no processed meat in New York schools?
I'm not sure, but she was she participated in a documentary called Lunch Hour. She does a lot of things just trying to get healthy food in the schools. She's been on the show. I'm not sure what part of New York she's in.
Oh, okay. We have so many wonderful.
I think people just assume that all New Yorkers know each other, even though it's a big city.
I know. What's so funny? So we started, Meatless Monday is like a colloquial term. Like everyone knows Meatless Monday, but it never occurred to me that it was an organization. Like that's an actual nonprofit, and they're in New York City. So I didn't even know that. So we I actually am helping, like I mentioned, our organization is very expansive. We have more than just clinics. We have inpatient facilities too. And we have this one inpatient facility that has like 5 different inpatient, different kinds of programs. And they have a cafeteria that was notoriously unhealthy. And so I've noticed it since I've been working there for 4.5 years. My CMO said, don't even try. I tried. There's like contracts within contracts, and it's just too hard to change the menu. We'll just have to deal with serving people, unhealthy food while they're in our programs. And so finally, during COVID, the patients were much more concerned. Maybe they were more concerned already, but it just got to me more. And I'm the person everyone goes to in my organization when anything nutrition comes up now. So they asked me to help. And so all the directors of the program were on board. It was the most engaged group of people ever. And we actually started Meatless Mondays. And we are working on making 50% of the menu plant-based. This is in a Bronx inpatient facility. Most of these people are in there for detoxing off of really serious drugs. And yet we're successfully making it more meatless. We're not taking away their bacon. There would be a riot. No one would come into our programs. But we're giving them more healthy options, and they are loving it. So, and then Meatless Monday, the organization, I met with them 2 weeks ago, and they actually are going to see if they can help provide free nutrition education to these programs too. If nothing, even if at minimum, they're going to help give us posters to put up to, clever photos and graphics to help further educate people about nutrition and about why the cafeteria is changing. But yeah, Meatless Monday is here too. It's just, yeah, I don't think I know everyone who, between LA and New York City, we have quite the bulk of the leaders in the plant-based movement.
Yeah. Because Dina says, do you know about Plant Stock in upstate New York? Did you ever go? And Susan says, do you know about Plant-Based Metro New York?
Oh, of course. Plant-Based Metro New York. Love them. Yes, absolutely. I'm actually on their board of medical advisors. That organization is fantastic. And they were actually the one that recommended me to apply to Veg Fund. So yes, amazing organization. I have been trying so hard to get a grant to fund them to come teach programs at my organization. So yes, they're amazing. They're doing amazing work, and they're really great at bringing together the different, all of us, because like you said, we're all doing a lot of us are doing similar work in New York. We don't know each other. And so Leanna and her team, they're bringing them together, or they're bringing us together in rooms and saying, I just had a Zoom call a couple weeks ago. We were talking about applying for a giant grant all together to apply, collaborate together so we can have little satellite plant-based programs all in this one big group. So, and they do a lot of STAR programs too. They are doing a Spanish one starting like next week, I believe. And I don't speak Spanish. That's another big problem. And I haven't been able to getting grants to hardest. It's the biggest budget. So haven't been able to do that, but that's also on my list. But they do Spanish classes, virtual. So no, they're amazing. Plant-Based Metro New York is great.
That's great. People are asking in the show notes, we have your website, your Instagram, and how to get your weekly classes, but we don't have your work email. I don't think I have that. So if you'd like me to add it, just
oh, sure. I thought I put it in. Yeah, I can. Oh, you know what? I'm going to put it in the chat right now. If anyone, are people able to see it?
I'm able to see it, and then I can cut and paste it into this chat that they're using.
Okay, there you go. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have that one. So good thing. I have a different one for you. So perfect.
No problem.
Let's see. Command C.
Feel free. I love talking about this. I could talk about this every day of the week.
Okay, I'm going to type it in by hand and use my glasses. Okay. You're the first person I ever met named Eugenia.
Oh, amazing. I actually only met one other Eugenia in person as well.
Do you have a nickname?
No, and honestly, now I look back and I wish I just kept my Russian name and dealt with the pronunciation. But in Russian, the full, no one would say this, official name is Eugenia, which is why it's translated to Eugenia. But anyone in Russian would call me Zhenya. And Zhenya is more of my real, I identify as Zhenya, but Americans have trouble saying Zhenya.
That is something. They don't call you Jeannie with the dark brown hair then.
That's funny. No, I did. I remember one summer at camp, I was a camp counselor. They called me Jeannie once. That's the only time anyone has ever said that.
That's funny. Well, thank you so much for the work you do, for being vegan and for being awesome and just getting this message out to the people that really, really need it and might not get it otherwise. I signed up for your Friday class.
Yay, awesome. So I'll see you next week.
Great. Well, thank you so much, Eugenia. I really appreciate it. And thanks all of you for watching another episode of Chef AJ Live. Please come back tomorrow when we have 2 shows at the regular time of 11 a.m. We have another wonderful animal sanctuary, Peacefield Farms. It's 30 acres in Florida. And don't you like to see those little animals, guys? I know we never get as many viewers when we're not talking health or doing a cooking demo, but we're not going to show you anything sad or ask for your money, but just support these sanctuaries, even just by sharing them with people you know. And then at 2 p.m., we have a wonderful lifestyle medicine doctor named Dr. Judy Brangman, because Monday starts Lifestyle Medicine Week. And you are a lifestyle medicine practitioner, if you ask me, Eugenia.
Mm-hmm. Oh, awesome. I didn't even know that. We have a lifestyle medicine week. Cool.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much. And I give Morty a big pet for me. He's amazing.
I will.
All
Thank
right.
you so much for having me.
Great. Have fun on your hike and happy Memorial Day. Take care, everyone.